Why do federal employees and retirees seem to get inconsistent or bad financial advice? That's what we're going to talk about on today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the CD Financial Podcast. CD Financial, where health meets wealth. I'm Marcus C., your host. That man across from me, as always, is Chuck D. Chuck, my man, what is happening today, brother?
Ooh, I got a lot to share.
Giddy up. You look like you're chomping at the bit.
I don't know. You look almost priestly today. Is that white?
Priestly?
Is that a white shirt, or is it like a dove white? Almost
this is baby blue. Baby blue? I don't know. It's
really?
blue.
Is it blue? Are you colorblind or I'm colorblind? It's really, if it's blue, it is like the lightest of blue.
You know, it's my amazing Texas tan is making it look whiter than it is. That's what's happening here. It's an optical illusion. Your eyes are playing tricks on me.
That's right. All right. Let's talk about it. Why? There used to be a friend of ours down in Plano. He older gentleman at the time. Now I'm probably his age when I was his, right? And we were looking up to him, and he would say why. He would pronounce that H.
Why?
He wasn't from Plano. He was from Minneapolis, Minnesota, somewhere.
Yeah. Did he say whipped cream too?
I don't know. What's that? Stewie? What would Stewie say?
Yeah, I think so.
Jude loves that episode. Cool
whipped.
Cool whip. Something like that.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Let's go, Marcus. Let's talk about the subject. Why are feds getting bad advice? Seriously.
Okay. So we went through a lot of things, but you said we came up with 4 good ones, and we're gonna stick to those 4 for the sake of time and not getting lost in the weeds there. So let's hit it. Let's go with the first reason. So what's the first reason feds are sometimes getting bad advice?
Well-meaning coworkers who seem to be authorities because they're an authority at their job, and so oftentimes people look up to them. They might be their superior even. And or water cooler conversations now that everybody's been ordered back to work, back to office. And so everybody's clustering together again, and advice gets handed out, and they might even be a friend of yours, but they don't know your intimate information. I mean, a good professional knows the right questions to ask. For instance, if they're going to advise you on your TSP, do they know what your retirement timeline is? Do they know what you're going to use the money for? Do they know how much money you're going to need and when? Do they know how much debt you have? Do they know what your mortgage is? Do they know your obligations? And do they know your dreams and aspirations? Typically, they don't. I've had a lot of folks tell me they advised me to go 100% into the C fund. They told me to go 100% into the G fund. I'm thinking recently of somebody who had $635,000 in their TSP. They were advised in the down to go to the G fund 100%. So they went when they were at 550. And then when it went back up again, guess what? Nobody was there to advise them. There's nobody to time it for them.
You get left behind.
You got to be careful of these water cooler conversations. And I would point this out too. Maybe you have gotten advice from them in the past that has grown your TSP or your retirement savings. However, those that were able to help you grow to retirement, it is not the same discipline in retirement because you're accumulating going up the mountain, but now you're distributing. Who are you distributing to in retirement?
To yourself.
To yourself. And if you're distributing, it may no longer be about accumulation and growing, but it might be about preserving because you're not a kid anymore and you don't have the time to make it up if you go through a market loss. If you lose in the first few years or decade of retirement, it's strange, but you may run out of money much, much faster than if you lost the second decade of retirement. It's all in the numbers and the rates of return. You've got to be careful about advice you're getting if it's not well informed and they're not a professional who understands how to create retirement income away in an account away from retirement growth.
Right.
Income growth, two separate things. So that's
Yeah.
number one. Beware
I,
of the water cooler advice from well meaning coworkers and friends.
I like that because they say a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing. And water cooler chatter is a great example of that being the case. Sometimes
Yes.
just a little bit, it doesn't guide you the right way. All right. So that is number one. What's the second reason you're seeing?
Let's go with the second reason. Um, your your personnel might be young, green, or just not available at your agency. And the institutional knowledge that should have been transferred to the new folks is
Mm-hmm.
not always intact.
Yeah.
And so the personnel are either not there or they don't understand, again, your circumstances and or your benefits. I'm going back to a um, a tech from West LA VA who was
Mm-hmm.
about ready to retire 2 months prior to his 62nd birthday,
Wow.
and he would have lost a $227 bonus in his pension monthly for the rest of his life. Had he not spoken with me, the specialist never said a word to him.
Mm.
And as we've mentioned before on other episodes, specialists may not even be around and
Yeah.
you may not have them to talk to anymore. But
Yep.
without the proper training and guidance internally, there could be inconsistent advice made. It's enough
Yep.
said on that because for the
Yeah.
most
And,
part,
and
I do believe HR personnel they want to give you the right advice. It's just that they may have not had the proper time. Folks, I've been guilty of it with my own team members. Just yesterday, I sat down with one of my team members and I said, listen, I have not spent a suitable amount of training in this one area. And let me show you some things that I want to point out to you so that you fully understand what we're doing and how you can improve what you're what you're up to here. And they were
yeah,
so thankful afterwards. You got to carve out the time to do that transfer of knowledge to others.
yep. Yeah. And a lot of times it's well intentioned people, right? We've discussed that
Oh
very
yeah,
very nice, very well intentioned, but a lot of times just spread too thin to help individuals. And 200 a month may not seem like much, but boy, that's a couple of grand a year. That's a vacation, vacation money, or just
yes.
just a lot you can do with that. All right.
Uh-huh.
Reason number three. What are you hearing,
Or what do I realize?
or what are you
Um,
seeing? Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Well, somebody was telling me, they go, yeah, I got some counsel, Charles, a few years ago, but they came into our agency and they were promoting a product. And after we met one on one, it was product, product, product. So
Yeah.
I would say that if you bring trainers into your agency that you're not paying for
Mm-hmm.
and they're coming at no cost, you're going to get what you pay for. And if
Salesman.
yeah. So if somebody just promotes, I don't know, life insurance or just promotes annuities, then that's going to be the solution for every ailment you got.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that either one's a bad tool at all. It's simply to say that you got to be, you got to be cautious and show some circumspect when it comes to the counsel you're getting. And there's no silver bullet, folks.
Yeah.
Life is about moderation. I've said this before. I mean, you heard uh, did I just I was talking about that home that I moved into years ago with my wife and kids up in a historic neighborhood in Santa Ana, floral
Okay. Yeah.
floral park, and all of a sudden I call them these Napa style garden boxes. They come up to like your your kneecaps, and
Yep.
they started sprouting kale, and it was fantastic. We had Angie learned how to make kale chips, and she was taking kale and sautéing it with garlic and onions and lemon and salt, and and we were cutting strips of kale into the pasta water and boiling it with that, and mixing it with little like breaded anchovies, and I would fry it with my eggs in the morning. We would put it in breakfast shakes, and after 3 or 4 weeks of that nonsense, we stopped eating kale. You know why?
You got burned out on it.
Yeah, our body didn't need the vitamins and minerals that kale provided anymore. We had enough of it. So
Yeah.
life is about moderation and a mix. So investing is the same way. You have to have a combination of things. You can't have one thing. You have to have a combination of things
Yep.
and
Yeah.
being moderate and balanced. And then you'll have success. So
Yeah.
that's number 2, right? Be wary of outside advice that might be coming in even internally, right?
Yeah.
If they're not properly vetted or they're promoting just one thing after
Yeah.
the fact.
That's actually point number 3, and you made me think about it as a carpenter.
What did I say? Number 2, number 3. Thank you.
Yeah, it's number 3. But as a carpenter, it made me think. There's an old saying that uh, to the man that has a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Right? Hammers are great tools. You ever try to drive a screw in with a hammer? It's not good. So hammers are great. Products are great, but they need to be applied properly to be beneficial. And
There you
that's the
go.
thing. If you have someone who just knows to sell one product, that's all you're getting. You may need a screwdriver and you're being sold a hammer. So yeah, get someone on your side who knows more than just that one product. All right,
There you
we're
go.
ready to move on to number 4.
Okay. This is getting a financial advisory firm who doesn't understand your benefits intimately.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that like they really know your benefits.
Yeah.
I've seen so many give advice on, like, for instance, your FEHB, Federal Employee Health Benefit. They won't know how in open season you might want to examine new coverage because changes have happened at the Fed. And we just saw a massive increase
Mm-hmm.
in health insurance premiums. Some of them, BCPS was a 13%, 13.5% increase in 1 year. Yeah,
Wow.
that's crazy. And so, because of that, or they recommend that you go get Part B, and they don't know that you actually don't have to get Part B. And so all these sort of things. By the way, there's a video you can link to about Part B and federal employees. If you want more information on that, just click the link here and you can get that. So I want you to be aware of that. They may be well meaning and the answer was correct for others, but it might not be correct for you because you might be just one of several families maybe that they serve federally and they're not well trained. Maybe
Yeah.
they give you advice on your group life insurance when you're going to make retirement elections, or they give you advice on your TSP. They might be well meaning, but they just don't understand all the ins and outs of your federal benefits. Maybe the 59 and a half at your money when you could have accessed it at 55 at TSP. So there's a lot of mistakes that I see made from advisory firms that don't know your benefits well. Survivor
Yeah.
benefit, there's another one where I see all kinds of mistakes made, and the mistakes are from the bad advice from the financial firm that you might view as very knowledgeable. And they might be quite knowledgeable, maybe about investments, but if they're lacking knowledge on these other areas, that could really mess you up later in life,
Yep.
really harm you and your loved ones. So get good, solid advice because there's all
Yeah.
kinds of advice out there, but it's pretty inconsistent.
Yeah, I love that, and it makes me think. I have a background in the construction field. How sometimes you have people who just general, right? They do things generally. I'll give you a good example with cement. I have a friend that does cement, and he works specifically with spas. And when you do a cement base for a spa or a hot tub, you need a cement pad that's going to be, one, thick enough to hold it with water long term, and two, level, because as soon as that thing gets out of level, if it gets broken, you lose your warranty because you didn't level your cement pad properly. So a lot of times, guys who do cement, they'll go, "Well, can you do a cement pad for a hot tub?" "Oh yeah, I do cement, right? I do sidewalks. Of course, I can do that." And they hop in there and they do it, and then it cracks. Something happens to the hot tub, and then they have to pay for someone who knows how to do that specifically to come back and, one, destroy the old pad, and two, put in another one. So you've paid twice for something you should have paid once for. Same thing. General knowledge doesn't mean specific knowledge to your case.
Wow. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I love the cement
Yeah.
accent too. I love that. We say cement. You say cement in Texas.
Cement.
Wow. I love it. I just love it.
It's like I
Cement.
say pecans.
Pecans. You say pecans. Pecans.
That's
Come
right,
on.
baby.
Yeah.
I'm in the
Okay.
South.
All right. So just to wrap that up,
Yep.
uh, get good advice, right? Because there's a lot of reasons, and there's more reasons why feds and Fed retirees might get bad advice. Seek counsel from somebody who really, really understands your benefits. In fact, when I was thinking about this episode, I want to reach
Uh-huh.
out to several offices that are friends of mine. They're in areas where they have a lot of federal employees. A couple in Alabama come to mind readily, somebody in Nebraska too. And I want to reach out to them and just offer this, or maybe the entire group, and say, look, if you need advice specifically on federal benefits, I want to provide you with some of the common mistakes I'm seeing on a consistent basis. So it's just something I just want to give back to the community if I can. Yeah.
No,
Just
appreciate that.
better advice is just better advice, and the more knowledge you get, the better it'll be. Hey,
Absolutely.
you got a health tip for us, Marcus?
Yes, I do. So a couple of weeks ago, I was discussing the topic of forgiveness, and I want to throw this out there because I think oftentimes we put forgiveness in the box of simply how it benefits the person who's offended us, right? We think about like, well, okay, I forgive you. You can move on with your life. We can move past this. But one of the things that was highlighted and we discussed was how forgiveness benefits you as a person, right? So when you forgive someone, and oftentimes they don't deserve it or even appreciate it, but when you forgive them, you release that load that you're carrying. When you carry around resentment, it's like drinking poison expecting the other person to get sick. But when you forgive, you release that emotion and you get that load off your back. We all have way too many loads on us anyway, right? We don't need to be carrying around extra weight.
Yes, we
So
do.
if there's something that's been pestering you for a long time or someone, and you just really consider the importance of forgiving, regardless of what that person's doing. Now, forgive them and release that load off your own back.
I
Kind of a
love that.
mental health tip today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna go away with that. It's gonna be a good
Giddy up.
weekend if I could keep that in front of me. That and
Yeah.
what would Jesus do in this situation? I had a friend tell me that, and he's 68, 69, and he told me that. He goes, you know what, Charles, it's really weird. He goes, I know it sounds cliche-ish, but I keep asking myself that lately. He goes, and I find that I'm going to hold myself back and adjust what I was going to do. He said, because I'm saying, what would Jesus do in this
Mm.
regard? Right? So, yeah, just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Marcus said it. Life is too heavy. It's too
Yep.
hard. And you're giving free rent, right, in your mind to somebody. They don't even know that they're occupying space in there, and you're giving them a free lease.
Yep.
Why? They're bopping
Good.
around doing their own thing. Thank you for the advice, Marcus, and the health tip.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Always a pleasure. And to you folks out there, Chuck mentioned it throughout this podcast, but get someone on your side that knows your circumstances and is going to help you as best as possible. You can text 959 949.
949.
I was already going to give the wrong. Thank you. 949 359 5100. Let me say it again correctly. 949 359 5100. Leave your name and email address, and we'll set up a 15-minute consultation. There's, that way you can get someone on your side without that obligation, right? You have that consultation and we get something set up for you. But meanwhile, we want to thank you all for joining us on the CD Financial Podcast, CD Financial, where health meets wealth. I'm Marcus C., your host. That man is Chuck D. Thank you very much for being here.